From June 17th to the 22nd, one of Winnipeg's most anticipated summer traditions returns. The TD Winnipeg International Jazz Festival. Presented by Jazz Winnipeg, this year's festival brings the groove with a stellar lineup of internationally acclaimed artists, including Béla Fleck, Madeleine Peyroux, and George Colligan, alongside local jazz heavyweights like Will Bonness, Larry Roy, and Brent Parkin. With music filling venues across the city, this festival is set to swing the summer into high gear. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio to talk about this year's TD Winnipeg International Jazz Festival, I am joined by Zachary Rushing, who is the Director of Programming for Jazz Winnipeg. Hey, Zachary, great to have you here.
It's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
So I want to get right to it. The lineup for this year's festival is just incredible. First of all, can you talk about when the planning for this year's festival started? I imagine if you're booking guests like Béla Fleck and George Colligan, it must have started like a year or so ago. How does that pan out for you as a director?
We typically start in October of the year prior. So we start working on these bigger pieces, those shows you mentioned, for example, with a group of festivals that live under the Jazz Fest Canada umbrella. They're the festivals you'll recognize all across our country. And we start this process of looking at artists and booking things across our vast country in October.
I want to go through the festival by venue. You're opening the festival on the 17th at the Burton Cummings Theatre, and you've got Béla Fleck with harpist Edmar Castaneda and drummer Antonio Sanchez. I know Béla Fleck from his work, obviously, with the Fleck Tones, but also his work with the Dobro virtuoso Jerry Douglas. Is this concert going to be very Latin American influenced? I'm just thinking of Edmar coming from Colombia and Antonio Sanchez coming from Mexico. What's the sound of that concert going to be like?
There is certainly a contemporary Latin jazz influence to the music that they're playing as an ensemble, but it's actually really deeply groovy music. Like a lot of it is vibe, for lack of a better describing factor. It's a new trio. Béla Fleck, like you mentioned, is one of the most adventurous musicians in the world. He's played all sorts of crazy stuff on the banjo. And they just put out a new record, this ensemble. You can check it out in advance, or you can come and be surprised. It's all original compositions that they've put together with this bizarre instrumentation of banjo, harp, and drums.
Yeah. I'm sort of curious about what that's going to sound like. And Edmar Castaneda on harp and Béla Fleck on banjo. How does that? Have you heard it?
I have heard it. Yes, I've listened to the record a few times. I think the most surprising thing when I first heard it, that really I wasn't maybe thinking enough about in advance, is that the harp becomes the bass instrument in this ensemble. The low end of the harp is really carrying that role. And then all of the interplay on top of that sort of happens between, at least melodically and harmonically, between the banjo and the harp. And Antonio Sanchez is just this deeply groovy drummer and just plays all this really cool stuff. It's like music that swells and grows and morphs, and it's very experiential.
Performed by three virtuosos
truly.
On their instruments. So from the Burt, we move to the Digital Concert Hall. Three great shows. As a singer yourself, what are you most excited about seeing Madeleine Peyroux and Jimmy Herod? He's going to be performing with George Colligan. What are you excited about for those two performances?
Well, I'm very excited. Jimmy Herod, for those who don't know, is an incredible singer. He's been touring with Pink Martini since, I think, 2017 as one of their front singers. He has sung at the Kennedy Center. He was on America's Got Talent, made it to the finale, and then again on America's Got Talent All-Stars. And he used to be my roommate when we lived in Seattle. I've always known him to be one of truly maybe the most extraordinary singer I've ever heard in my entire life. So he lives in Portland, Oregon, which is where I grew up, and has gotten to work a lot with this great pianist, George Colligan, who Winnipeggers may know. He used to be the piano professor at University of Manitoba Jazz Studies program.
That's how I know.
He's truly one of the world's best jazz pianists. And I think I've been looking for a reason to have both of them on the festival for a long time. And so it seemed like a really good way to do it, bring them here and let them play some exciting music together.
And then you've got Madeleine Peyroux.
Absolutely.
She's fantastic as well.
And in good form. Madeleine Peyroux has a new record out. It's called Let's Walk. And it's harkens back to her peak of her songwriting when she was really sort of one of the biggest jazz names in the world. And it's great material.
It's going to be two great shows. I have to say, one of the concerts that I'm looking forward to most in the whole festival, again, it's happening in the Digital Concert Hall, is bass player Richard Bonness. He's been compared to Jaco Pastorius. He's a monster bassist. He's performed with George Benson, Randy Brecker, Joe Zawinul from Weather Report. What can people expect from this show? And I mean, he's originally from Africa. Are there African influences in this show?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Richard Bonness is a musician of the world. I think he is one of those sort of savant-style musicians who just has these big, wide open ears, and everywhere he's been and everything he's ever heard shows up in what he's playing on the bass. He's also coming with a new trio. It's a group that started playing together a lot during COVID. They were on another great radio program, KEXP, and I heard this like trio show of theirs and was just really blown away by this music. It's lyrical and beautiful. And Richard Bonness, in addition to being a great bass player, is actually a really beautiful singer. I don't know if people know that, but he's singing a lot with this group. He is really, truly magnificent and wonderful. And for those who don't know, I just want to also mention that he's also doing a masterclass that day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's free and open to the public. It happens right after the sound check. And so he's just going to be on stage, set up with his bass, answering questions, playing music for people. So definitely, if you're a musician, it's the place to be on a Sunday afternoon in Winnipeg.
Yeah, when I was prepping for the interview, I was watching videos of him. He's a monster bass player.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Really out of sight. So we moved from the Digital Concert Hall to the Fort Gate Hotel, and here there are 3 shows celebrating 100 years of Oscar Peterson, Mel Torme, and B.B. King. Total genius. Was it your idea to come up with this 100-year centenary thing, or?
It was. One of my favorite parts of the festival, at least since we've come back from COVID, is that for the past 4 festivals, we've done like a small themed series at the Fort Garry Hotel. We did like the Spirit of 73, where people played music that was turning 50 years old. Last year, we did the Salutes series celebrating recently past artists. So this year, the Centennial series, really it came to be because of Oscar Peterson. There's a lot of Centennial celebrations happening this year for Oscar as a Canadian jazz icon and musical legend.
Right.
We started looking like at that as the genesis of the idea for this series, and it's not even just the 3 of them. There's a lot of amazing artists who would have celebrated a centennial this year. But those ones stood out to us. We try and pair shows like this with local performers that are sort of well suited to it. The Brent Parkin celebrates B.B. King show I'm especially excited for. Brent's toured with B.B. King and was his opening act. They shared a bus together for over a year. And he has all these cool like personal anecdotes and stories to share about B.B. King. So like all of them are going to be such good shows. Yeah.
Paying tribute to Oscar Peterson is going to be Will Bonness. He's performing on the 17th. When I think of when I think of Oscar Peterson, I also think of Ed Thigpen and Ray Brown, the 2 great bass and drummers. Has Will talked to you about, is it going to be a solo show, or is he bringing extra musicians with him?
There will be extra musicians. Yeah, I'm not going to give all the details away, but like as you said, Oscar Peterson is really known for his trio work, and Will is going to be joined by an excellent pair of musicians rounding out his trio.
And you are performing a tribute to the Velvet Fog himself, Mel Torme. What can audiences expect from that show?
I'm really excited to do it. It's the first time I've been at the festival since 2018 as a performer. What they can expect from that show is to hear a lot of great American songbook standards. Mel really a prolific singer, drummer, composer, arranger. Do you know what I mean? Like a real musician's musician for sure. But he really lived in the great American songbook world. He was not an artist who ventured much into other genres or other styles of music, even into the later part of his career, where there was sort of this jazz revivalist movement in the 80s that brought him back to prominence. He really was like a diehard songbook guy. So that's, in terms of the material, that's what they can expect to hear. It's a 5-piece band. We're working on some arrangements that Mel and some of his other arrangers like Marty Paik made for his ensembles and stuff like that. So good swinging tunes and beautiful ballads.
Yeah, he was such a master of the songbook. How old are you when you were first exposed to him? And can you talk about his influence on you?
Yeah, sure. Probably around 17. I really started getting into jazz heavy when I was a sophomore in high school. So probably around like 15 or 16 years old. Mel Torme is probably the only real male vocalist who has had a huge influence on me. I am absolutely a fan of like the female singers in jazz. Particularly Sarah Vaughan was the first one I really fell in love with, but so many wonderful female singers. And then there's a lot of crooners, and crooning doesn't land with me necessarily. Like hot takes, but I'm not a big fan of like the Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Dean Martin sort of like Rat Pack bravado-y thing that they do. Mel does something totally different. He sings in this incredibly lyrical style. He has an unbelievably proficient use of his instruments, of the voice itself. And he really he's really in the music in like a musician sort of way. Like he's inside of the music from a different mentality. It's not always lyric first, but it's like song forward. And so he influenced me. I just really fell in love with his singing. And we also sing in the exact same pitch range. I sing in all of his keys. It's really nice to not have to like transpose anything for a concert.
Absolutely. Also happening at the Fort Garry as part of the festival, you've got some international acts. You've got music coming from Sweden. And you got to help me out here with the pronunciation. And Hank Krejeveld?
You did great. That's great.
from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
What is Hank Krejerveld's voice like, and what's his music like in general?
Yeah, funny enough, I just said there's not as many great male jazz vocalists, and we have 3 of them on the festival this year. Hank really comes, for me, sort of out of the like post-Kurt Elling tradition in jazz singing. It's very adventurous. His songwriting is modern and fresh, and he tackles a lot of interesting themes in his work. It's hard to describe someone's voice with words. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He's a great singer. He's a great like baritone singer. He plays with a great band and sings excellence in English as well. Like it's not like you're going to be sitting there listening to Dutch all night, which could be amazing or not, as familiar as you are with the Dutch language. But yeah, he's a singer I heard a couple of years ago when I was at a conference called Jazz Ahead in Germany, and became friends with the piano player in his band. And so they made a bid to come to Canada this year, and they're playing quite a few of the festivals across the Western Front.
Perfect. And then what can you tell us about music from Sweden? From what I gather from the website, they've got a sense of humor. Like there's a humorous element to their shows as well.
Yeah. I think that's maybe inherent to jazz more than other musical genres, but jazz is absolutely like a language with a sense of humor in it. Do you know what I mean? Jazz musicians love to tell musical jokes between themselves as they're like speaking the jazz language, quoting things from other songs. Do you know what I mean? Playing things in a way that's sort of like intentionally like out in a fun way. Music has established themselves like as one of Sweden's preeminent jazz ensembles for a number of years. They've been around quite a long time. It's really, really cool, exciting jazz piano trio stuff. And we're really excited to be bringing both these bands over from Europe, honestly. We don't get to present a lot of Euro jazz. It's something we're trying to make more of an effort at as we build our relationships with jazz that maybe isn't from south of the border more over the next few years.
And there's like a real strong jazz tradition, especially I know from Scandinavia and places like that. Like
Truly, all across Europe. The scene is strong and it's different, it's regional.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. Like Northern Europe in particular has this deep-rooted like ECM jazz tradition. So we're excited to be presenting it at the festival. Yeah,
absolutely. There's also acts coming from Toronto and Montreal. You've got the Anthony D'Alessandro Quartet coming and the Lorraine Desmarais trio. Lorraine Desmarais, she's paying tribute to Bill Evans. She's a fantastic pianist. Whose idea was it to feature the music of Bill Evans?
Hers. In fact, we have a whole 3 nights of tribute shows on the festival. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to program that music specifically, but it's what she's invested in as an artist at the moment. And certainly the piano tradition that she's from as well.
And she'll do it so well. She's fantastic.
She's really like a Canadian jazz legend, sort of in an unknown way. She's a member of the Order of Canada. And she does not tour outside of Quebec very often, so it's a real special treat for us to have her here.
And then you've got the Anthony D'Alessandro Quartet, and it's going to feature, they're going to be joined by trumpet player and singer Benny Banach, who's from the States. I was listening to him on YouTube when I was prepping for the interview. He's a singer right out of the crooner tradition. I actually heard some elements of that. The trio is fantastic as well. How did that show come together?
Anthony is a Canadian musician, as you mentioned. He was here a couple of years ago. Some people might have seen him playing piano with Katie George, the great singer who was here a couple years ago. But we support a lot of Canadian artists who make bids to tour the Jazz Festival network. So he was a part of that process this year. We were all pretty excited to book the show. He's a great musician. It's a great ensemble on their own. But like you mentioned, they have Benny Benack III with them as a special guest, who really is like a superstar in the jazz world. In America, and is playing a lot of like big stages and stuff. So to get that in like a club atmosphere is going to be very, very intimate and very exciting.
He's got a great voice, and his trumpet playing is beautiful as well.
Absolutely, yes.
No jazz festival would be complete without a jam session. I was at the Montreal Jazz Festival a number of times, and we'd all head to the jam session after the show. On the 21st and 22nd at the Fort Garry, guitarist Larry Roy is going to be doing a jam session starting at 9. How late is the jam session going to go, and what do you hope is going to come out of the jam session?
The jam session is not going to be quite as late night as it has been in maybe some previous years. It'll run until 11 o'clock-ish, a couple hours of jamming. I also love the jam session. It's an integral part of the Jazz Festival. It's really a place like for community building, for meeting and connecting with your musical peers who you may or may not get a chance to play with very often. Also just to like grab a drink and see friends. Do you know what I mean? Like we're a tight-knit community in the jazz community here. And each year, since 2022, we've been asking if someone different to band lead the session for the festival. So we're very excited to have Larry on board. He's a great person to have on a jam. He knows every song ever written. Yeah, it's going to be a really good time.
Just bring your fake book and have a good time. If you're
sure,
a musician.
Absolutely. Yeah, learn your chart before you come to the jam, actually.
The festival this year is really amazing. We've not even scratched the surface. There are a plethora of concerts that are also happening at the TD main stage at Old Market Square. They're going to be invigorating the Exchange District throughout the festival with these great sounds. Where can people go to find out more details about this year's Jazz Festival?
JazzWinnipeg.com.
Zachary, this year's 2025 Jazz Festival is going to be spectacular. A totally excellent lineup of music and musicians. A fantastic way to get out into the warm weather and take in some killer music. Thanks so much for taking the time to stop by and talk to me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.